Hello and welcome back to Will's Word Reviews and More. Here I am, straight after the Rumble, to give you guys a review of it. And it's my first pay-per-view in about 10 years, so I was excited for this. And I guess, in some ways, I'm satisfied, but that's probably about as far as I'm going to go in praise for this pay-per-view. But we'll get into the good bits and the bad bits, obviously, as I progress through the video. But in general, I enjoyed it, and hopefully it's the first of many going forward on this channel. I'm probably going to implement some changes to my reviews or to my kind of presentation or something. I'm not quite sure yet, but I'm sure you guys will enjoy that, and I'll keep you posted on that. But anyway, let's get to the actual pay-per-view. So as I say, guys, this was my first pay-per-view in about 10 years, and I watched it on the WWE network, and because of this I caught the kind of pre-show, and it was mainly analysis, Booker T, Byron Saxton, Renee Young, and the other guy from the Raw pre-show or something. Anyway, it was mixed in between them kind of talking about the Rumble, some interviews with HBK, and so on, and then there was obviously a match between what I thought was originally going to be kind of like a 3v3 match, the New Day, but it turned out just to be Big E and Kofi Kingston versus Tyson Kidd and Cesaro, with Adam Rose and Natalya, and then Xavier Woods on the kind of outside supporting them. But in effect, it was probably just a warm-up match, really. And in the end, Cesaro and Tyson Kidd picked up the win, which was quite a bit of a shock, really, because I think many people thought the New Day would get the win because they were the former tag team. The WWE was putting kind of trying to get them over, and in the end, it was quite a surprise. So maybe that's a bit of a perk up for fans of Tyson Kidd and Cesaro to see where they're going, really. So they move on to the actual show. Opened up with all the fireworks and everything as usual. We got to the first match, which was the New Age Outlaws versus the Ascension. And in the end, this match kind of went to what many people predicted. The New Age Outlaws put the Ascension over clean. It was nice to see the kind of not reunion, but the kind of the Attitude Era relives a little bit with the New Age Outlaws. And after, it was an entertaining match. I think Victor and Connor of the Ascension proved that they're probably going to have a decent run in the tag team department. They just need to probably hone their gimmick a bit more, maybe with some better writing. They could end up being quite a decent tag team. The next match was Damien Sandow, or Mizdow, and The Miz versus the Usos for the tag team championships. Again, this probably was one that many people thought went to plan, with the Usos retaining. As we saw later in the Rumble, obviously there could be some issues now coming with The Miz and Mizdow, but again, it was just a typical match, really. The Usos retained, and there's not much else to say about that, guys, really. I'm not a big fan of The Miz. I quite like Damien Sandow, so it'll be interesting to see if they split off now, or whether they have a feud, or whether they continue on with this gimmick. It's difficult to say. Then you had Paige and Natalya versus the Bella Twins, and this was a match that really kind of got under my skin because it really seemed like it was pointless having Paige there. They really didn't do anything with her. Now, whether that's the WWE just thinking that they don't have enough confidence in her yet to kind of do a massive pay-per-view, but she's already proved that, really. She's a two-time Diva champion, so why not give her the confidence? Whether that's just they're leading up to a new angle or what have you between Natalya and the Bellas, I'm not quite sure, but it seemed like it was pointless to have Paige there in the end, and I really like her. I think she's a good diva, so I like Natalya too, so I'm not quite sure what they were doing with that match, and in the end, the Bellas picked up the win, and there's not much more to say about that, so we'll see how that goes. I think they're kind of probably building that towards more of a storyline on Total Divas than anything. So now we get to the meat of the program, which was obviously the first part was the triple threat match for the WWE title, and this was probably one of the redeeming features of the whole pay-per-view. This was a really decent match. In the end, it was a pretty straightforward ending. Lesnar retained. I think a lot of people thought maybe Cena would pick up the win and then Rollins would cash in, or maybe Rollins would cash in on Lesnar, or maybe Cena would win, if Lesnar's contract was a bit dubious. But in the end, it was, like I say, quite straightforward ending. But in terms of the actual match, it was a real entertaining fight, and one of the most entertaining fights that I can remember for the championship, in a triple threat match anyway. Let's get Cena out of the way. He didn't really do anything too much, to be honest. I'd love to have seen a fight between Rollins and Lesnar on their own. I think that could happen, maybe at Fastlane, who knows. But I think those two were the most entertaining. Cena didn't really do much. I wasn't really impressed with him, to be honest. But, Rollins really impressed me. And they've got to put a title on that guy at some point, and whether he decides to cash in at WrestleMania, which we'll talk about after talk about the Rumble, or whether he cashes in before that, or who knows. But he really impressed me, especially with the bumps he takes, flying into the table on Lesnar, which Lesnar still picked up. They really built Lesnar up as this immovable force, really, tonight, taking all the punishment and getting back up. And really, it was a great match, and I think that was probably the most satisfying ending for all parties, really. Cena didn't lose any face because he didn't get pinned. And Lesnar kind of picked up the victory, and Rollins really couldn't do any more, to be honest. And he still has Money in the Bank, so there's still kind of potential for all angles to go there. But like I said, a really entertaining match. So now we get to the actual Rumble itself. And like I said, I was really looking forward to this, and it got off to quite an underwhelming start. I think The Miz and R-Truth, is that what it's called now? Yeah, I used to know him as K-Quick anyway. They kicked off the match, and it was a bit underwhelming, and then it really got underway when we saw Bubba Ray come in, and that was entertaining, him teaming up with R-Truth for a bit to do the 3D. Pardon me. So, it was really nice to see Bubba Ray back. It was rumoured, we weren't quite sure whether he was going to bring Devon with him or not, but it was really nice to see him kind of in the WWE again. Whether it was just a one-off appearance, or maybe he signed a Legends contract and might make appearances and coach at the same time, we'll have to wait and see, but it was nice to see him back, that's for sure. The next kind of standout person really was Bray Wyatt. Had a really good run in the Rumble, and that's testament to his ability that they booked him for so long in this match. Definitely big things coming for him. I'm not quite sure, maybe it is the Taker match. We'll have to see what happens with Bray, but put in a good performance, and it was fun. Another superstar that returned, if you can call him that, the Boogeyman. It was fun to see them kind of pair off for a little bit. Zack Ryder, another guy I wasn't quite expecting. Whether he's going to make not a main event, but whether he's going to make a regular comeback or not, or whether it was just a one-off, we'll have to see. Depends how WWE are feeling about him. Another legend that came in was DDP, who just kind of diamond cutted everybody. That was good to see. Nice to see DDP in the Rumble. Then we get on to kind of some of the more controversial bits. So, first one, Daniel Bryan getting eliminated, and I'm surprised he got eliminated that early. I think though people thought he may not win, but they thought he might definitely be in the last 2 or 3. And for him to be eliminated so far just set the tone, really, that there were going to be trouble between the crowd and their reaction as the night went, as the Rumble climaxed. So him getting eliminated so early, he had a good showing up until that point, but he shouldn't have got eliminated that early, that's for sure. Whether he was still nursing that injury or what, they couldn't keep him in any longer, I'm not sure. But that was the first kind of thing that didn't really sit right. Roman Reigns came out and got a mixed reaction, to say the least, as he was walking through the crowd to the ring. I think people knew at this point that with Bryan eliminated, he was probably going to win. So he didn't get the kind of pop that he expected, and definitely didn't get the kind of pop that Ambrose got when he came out. And I was really begging them to just hand it to Ambrose in the end. And at one point, I thought, when it was just Ambrose, Reigns, and Kane and Big Show left, I thought Ambrose was going to turn heel, and I kind of wish that he had, in a way, because that would have been fun to see. Maybe, I know it wouldn't make much sense, the lunatic fringe joining the Authority, but I thought for a second it would just add some spice to that Rumble, because it needed it, and in the end, it didn't happen. But Ambrose got the best pop of the night, but for any superstar by far, and it just shows his popularity, and the WWE really need to do something with that quick, otherwise they're going to have similar situation to last year, which we're going to get onto in a bit. Bad News Barrett got quite a decent reaction, not a massive one, but better than Reigns, which is saying something. At one point we had a CM Punk chant, which I found very interesting as a CM Punk fan. I think that just proved their disillusion. They would like someone like CM Punk back in the WWE to kind of say, hang on a minute, what is going on at the moment? So that was entertaining to have that CM Punk chant. Ziggler came in at number 30, and I thought for a while he was going to win. In the pre-show, they did an interview with Ziggler, and I thought they were building him up to win in the end, but he didn't. And again, I thought maybe there was a heel turn coming from him, but he put in a decent performance for the short time it was in. So now let's get on to the meat of it. So like I say, the last four were Ambrose, Reigns, Big Show and Kane technically, but Rusev was still in there, which we'll come across in a sec. And basically, Show and Kane eliminated Ambrose. That left Kane with the all-time record, beating HBK's record. He's now got 41 eliminations, and Big Show went in the top 5. And then somehow Reigns managed to overcome all the odds and eliminate Kane and Big Show at the same time, which, you know, reminded me ironically of The Rock versus Big Show in the Royal Rumble 2000. So then, you know, they go back into the ring, start beating down on Reigns, and the first thing to notice is when, because even though at this point obviously Reigns hadn't won, many people in the crowd may have thought that he had, and he didn't get any kind of cheers, no reaction whatsoever to the possibility of him actually being the winner. So that again shows the disgruntledness of the fans. That's not a word, I think. But then they come back into the ring, Shawn Kane, and beat down on Reigns, and then, wow, you know, The Rock comes out. Again, not to as much fanfare as I expected. It was rumoured all day that The Rock was going to be in the Rumble because he was posting pictures on Twitter about being in the area and then being in the arena, so it wasn't that much of a surprise. But yeah, so The Rock comes in, saves Reigns' ass, whatever. And then it turns out that Rusev has not actually been eliminated. He comes back in, Reigns spears him, throws him over the top rope, and eventually becomes the undisputed winner. But again, not a massive crowd reaction, quite a few boos. And basically that's where we need to talk about now. That's what we need to talk about. The WWE have got a real problem on their hands, similar to last year. I don't think it's as bad, because I think Reigns is getting a bit of an unfair stick, and people can say that about Batista last year, but I think the problem fans had with Batista last year was the fact that he was out for, he wasn't out, but he'd quit and then come back, and all of a sudden he was now main event WrestleMania, whereas they thought Bryan should. Now Reigns, I think, does have a lot of fan support, but I think they just thought because it was so predictable, and also because maybe other people deserved it more, maybe the Ziggler or the Bryan or Ambrose, but they're going to have a real problem on their hand now, because, you know, the fans didn't want Reigns to win in the end. You know, yes, he was probably a better option than a Batista to win from last year, but I think fans are not happy, and you could tell that, like I said, from the action, and they're going to have a real problem on their hand now to try and build Reigns up into that material of being a crowd favourite, and I'm not quite sure how that's going to go, to be honest. Really don't know. Obviously this now brings into question how that's going to lead up to, you know, at the end of the pay-per-view you had Triple H and Stephanie come out looking none too pleased with the result. You know, The Rock and Reigns standing tall in the ring. It wasn't mentioned that they're actually related in real life, The Rock and Reigns, but I think most people know that anyway, so maybe The Rock will come on Raw tomorrow night and we'll know a bit more about his reasons for helping him out. But I think it's probably just because The Rock, the storyline might be because The Rock, his family, or because he didn't like what the Authority was going or doing, you know, so it might simply be that kind of motive to go with. But they also showed Brock Lesnar behind the scenes watching Reigns stand tall with Paul Heyman, so, you know, it's looking like it's going to be Reigns v Lesnar at WrestleMania, and that'll be the clash of the powerhouses, obviously. Now what they do in between then is, up for debate. They could have Rollins cash in, like I said, at is it Fastlane, yeah, or they could have Rollins cash in at WrestleMania. They could have Lesnar lose cleanly to Reigns, if Lesnar's indeed leaving, so that would in effect pass the torch to Reigns. He could win, and then you'd have Rollins cash in. So then you'd have both of them winning the championship that night. Or there could be some different variants going into there. Who knows? They might make it a triple threat match, but I hope Ambrose is getting figured in there somewhere, because like many people know, he's my favourite. But from looking at the Rumble, I think Ambrose probably gonna start a feud with Bad News Barrett for the Intercontinental title, or possibly Rusev for the US. So we'll have to see how he pans out personally. But like I say, guys, the main talking point from the Rumble probably is going to be the backlash from the fans. I think people were expecting maybe Orton to show up, which he didn't. Sheamus, another one. They probably thought maybe Sting or Taker would have an appearance. And in the end, we didn't really get any of that either. So there's probably going to be a little bit of backlash from that, maybe a bit of an underwhelming kind of Royal Rumble. But what do you guys think? You probably watched it. What's your thoughts? What do you think is going to happen? Like I said, it'll be interesting to see Raw tomorrow and see what happens. But I think Reigns is in a really bad position, and I do feel sorry for him. I do, because I think he is. He's going to be a big star, but they've really put the pressure on him now, and it's whether he's strong enough to take that. And I think that in some ways that's why they had to bring The Rock in, because I think they knew there was going to be a little bit of backlash, but even The Rock couldn't really save that. So that's saying something, and I think they need to we really need to get to work now, guys, and figure this whole thing out, because it is going to end up being a similar situation to last year otherwise. Anyway, that's my review. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed the pay-per-view if you've seen it. If not, and you're watching this first and then maybe going to watch it, go ahead. But keep liking, subscribing and commenting, and thank you very much for watching. Peace.